As I reflect my daily path of where my life will lead, I recall Amida's words which seem to comfort me. Though the world is filled with so much fear and strife, I always try to be aware of Amida's guide to life. With mindfulness, compassion, Amida's guiding ways, shown to every living thing we come across each day.
Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our hybrid virtual in-person service. My name is Tony Hale, and I would like to thank you for attending this morning's Dharma family service and, not to be forgotten, interfaith panel. So stay tuned for the interfaith panel, which will be happening along the way. So we will begin this service with a moment of quiet sitting. Reverend Kuahara will strike the bell, and we will sit for 1 or 2 minutes to quiet our minds and prepare to hear the Dharma. Then he will strike the bell again, and we will continue with the service.
Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
Reverend Kuahara will now chant Jusei Ge, which is on page 93 of the Purple Service Book.
So the chanting part starts page 93. You can go to the page 91 and see a brief explanation of this Jusei short sutra chanting. And then, of course, you are welcome to join sutra chanting. But there is an English translation at the bottom of each page, so you can also follow the English translation while we chant this sutra Jusei. Okay. Namo Butsu. Namo Butsu. 아곤 조세가 희심의조도 시간 후만족 세후조쇼각 가오무료콤 후이다이세슈 후사이쇼빙구 세후조쇼각 가시조분도 묘쇼조지포 극교미쇼몽 세후조쇼각 리역진쇼넴 조에슈봉교 시그무조도 이쇼텐닌시 진리키엔다이코 후쇼무사이도 쇼조상금요 고사이슈야크남 가이히치에게 메시코모암 해석쇼마크도 津田全宗門高僧上満足いよろ実法日月主樹期天候音符言一種解放像公正読法上大集中説法四式供養一切物具足主特本元年新上満得意三害を女仏無下地津田未不詳願学営利投資最小尊志願や国家大戦の感動国書天人当珍妙家アマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ願にしく読平等性祭道法菩提心往生安楽ナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダー
Please rise if you are able to follow along with the Gatha Today is Today, which is on the handout. Then please remain standing for the reading of the Three Treasures One.
So to give you the little backstory to this gatha, several years ago, Reverend Matsumoto was the minister here, and he introduced this poem at one of the services, and the title of the poem was Today is Today. And the poem is this: Today is today. Yesterday is today. Tomorrow is today. And we all we sat and we kind of looked at each other. Okay. But I think the essence of the poem was that the moment you're in right now is probably the most important moment of your life. And with that poem, I wrote this song. So, one more thing. On your lyric sheet, there, the bold is where your part comes in, right? And you should say that or sing that or however you would like to express that line.
Loud.
Today is today, yesterday is gone. Today is today, what day are you looking for? Today is today.
No, they came in. It's wants you to be louder. With feeling.
We'll stop every time if you don't. We'll just keep doing this.
We will wait here all day.
Today is today, yesterday is gone. Today is today, what day are you looking for? All right. Today is today, from start to the end. Today is today, don't wait, just live, my friend. The sun in the sky knows no other way. The gleam in your eye says all there is to say.
All there is to say.
So wake up and stretch your heart. We'll take you there. Today is yours. Point to the way. Today is today. Tomorrow is now. Today is today. Depend on the primal vow. Today is today. Not a promise to be made. Today is today. Right view is the perfect grade. All right. The sun in the sky knows no other way. The gleam in your eye says all there is to say.
All there is to
So
say.
wake up and stretch your heart. We'll take you there. Today is yours. Point to the way. Today is yours. Point to the way. Today is yours. Point to the way.
I will now recite Three Treasures on page 8 of the Purple Service Book. Please feel free to follow along. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Now, we would like to welcome the following new guests. We ask that as we call your name, if you are able to stand to be recognized, we'd welcome that. So we have a number of guests associated with our speakers as part of the interfaith panel, and it's wonderful to see them. Sunny Chen. Sunny is a partner to Sean. Jeff Mann. Jeff is Jackie's husband. Ray Wijaya. Sorry if I've butchered your name there. Sonia Langiano. Welcome, Sonia. Noble Kai McDonald. Great to see you, Noble. Thank you for joining us. Steve and Francine Dans. Thanks for joining us, Steve and Francine. Fatima Kushesh. Thanks for joining us, Fatima. Cole Tanigawa Lau. Hello, Cole. And then it's either, I think it's Clara Bialo. Great to see you, Clara. We also have Mark Izu. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Brenda Aoki. Welcome, Brenda. Lisa Siboni. Welcome, Lisa. And then Mel Siboni as well. So always wonderful to have our guests here. Thank you for joining us for this service. I will now read the announcements that have been submitted. So hold on just one second. Okay, well, first let me note that the O'Hara School of Ikebana, Northern California chapter, will be holding an Ikebana exhibition at the Jodo Shinshu Center just next door. That's at 2140 Durant Avenue, just across the way. Free admission. It starts at 11, just after this service, and it goes until 4:30. So according to reports, it's quite a beautiful exhibition. We also have online meditation and discussion planned for Wednesday, October 18th at 7 o'clock. The sign-up link is on our website. The BBT Dharmanar, the monthly online study session, is happening Thursday, October 26th at 6:30. The topic is Heart Sutra. The sign-up link is on our website for that. We hope you'll join us. Buddhist Global Relief Action to Feed the Hungry. So we welcome you to join the BBT team in raising funds through the 2023 Buddhist Action to Feed the Hungry campaign. The sign-up link is on our website, and our weekly email is also relating opportunities to join into that effort. So we sincerely appreciate your support in that. The Jodo Shinshu Center parking will be available next Sunday, October 22nd. So for those of you looking for parking, the gate will open at 9 a.m. and close at 9:30 sharp. So it's a narrow window, but the parking is there. We ask that you please arrive during this hour to take advantage of the JSC parking for the Sunday service. Now, as you can see here, as we are readying our tables, we are getting ready for our interfaith panel discussion. The Dharma school students, if you are a middle school or a high school student, please stay for the interfaith panel discussion. If you are preschool through 5th grade, so you know who you are, if you're preschool through 5th grade, please go to the front. There isn't no Oshoko. Okay, so you'll exit the Hondo, and you'll join Joyce Sensei in her classroom upstairs. Okay, so again, if you are preschool through 5th grade, you should go ahead and exit the Hondo, and the interfaith panel discussion will be starting soon. Today's interfaith panel discussion subject is climate change and how faith communities might skillfully respond to this global crisis. After the panel discussion, everyone is invited to join us for light refreshments in the social hall. I'll just note that one reason why I really wanted to be chair for today is that the interfaith panel is probably my favorite event of the year. I love hearing the exchange of ideas among all the different faiths, and I love welcoming our new guests into our Hondo. So I am very much looking forward to this, and I know that a lot of our other Sangha members are looking forward to this as well. So we welcome our guests to our temple today to join us at the front.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending today's service. And as Tony mentioned, interfaith panel. So today we have 4 speakers, and then I think many of you received this bio of the speakers for today. Oh, Bradley, by the way, do we need a microphone for speakers? Yeah. Of course, they can speak loud. Yeah. I am from Japan. So I came to Berkeley 2003 as a student. And then the reason why I came Berkeley is to attend a school, Institute of Buddhist Studies, IBS. And then IBS is affiliated to GTU, Graduate Theological Union. And my academic focus was comparative studies between Christianity and Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So I came here, and then I met many Christian people, and then I learned a lot of things from Christianity. Although that time I was already ordained, and I was a Jodo Shinshu priest, but I came to Berkeley, attending Christian seminary, and then studied Christianity. And then I learned many things. I discovered many similarities and also differences. And this, similarities, differences, although I learned something new about Christianity or Judeo-Christian things, but at the same time, that experience learning gave me kind of new discoveries of Buddhism and then Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So when I learn something different, then I received a kind of new, good perspective to look at my faith my teaching of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So that's why I value a lot to this, once a year, Tony also mentioned interfaith panel. So every week, Sunday, we come here and then listen to the Dharma, and then we learn Buddhism or Buddhist teachings. But once a year, it's nice to invite, wonderful speakers, and then we, receive new and different perspectives. And I'm sure those different perspectives, gives us a kind of broader perspective or see things differently. So, and then today the topic is climate change. And then speaking of interfaith, maybe some of you have different questions or comments. But today I want you to focus on especially Q&A session after the panel. Maybe it depends on the time, but we will have a Q&A session. But I want you to, focus on the topic for today's, interpanel. And then, of course, it's very important to, show respect to, different faiths. Okay. Hi. So today we have 4 speakers, and then before the, the service started, I talked to the people, and then decided the order. So. So you'll be the 3rd speaker, is that okay? Okay, yeah, not the first. So today, I'd like to ask Jackie Garcia Mann to go the first speaker. So this is her bio here. And she's a member of 350, and then I'm sure she will talk about what the 350 is. And then, so Jackie, please, start your presentation today.
Good morning. So my name is Jackie Garcia Mann, and I want to thank you for inviting me here. This is one of my favorite topics to speak on is climate change, because I think it is the most important topic facing mankind. And I want to start by saying that I have a lot of faith and hope that humans can solve the problem that we have caused with our climate. And I want to first empower you to know that you are part of the solution to climate change, that your actions and your voices and your deeds can help change the world. So now I will talk about the Judaic tradition of care of creation. Judaism has a long tradition of earth stewardship. In our holy book, the Torah, or the Old Testament, in Genesis, it is written, "So God took man and placed him in the Garden of Eden to till it and to tend it. God led Adam around all the trees of the Garden of Eden and said to him, 'Look at my works, how beautiful and praiseworthy they are. And all that I have created, it was for you that I created it. Pay attention, that you do not corrupt and destroy my world. If you corrupt it, there is no one to repair it after you.'" The Hebrew translation of this text offers the impression of serving and guarding the land. God has clearly placed humans in the position of responsibility of protecting God's creation. In the American Jewish community, few Hebrew expressions are as well known as what we call tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is repair of the world. Originally, tikkun olam was a minor rabbinic concept of amending laws for the betterment of the world. But since the 1950s, tikkun olam has been reinterpreted to mean that humans have the responsibility for the perfection and maintenance of the world. Modern theology perceives human free will, not divine action, as the chief means by which the world will be perfected. We demonstrate the godliness within each of us through ethical action, loving kindness, and compassion. This is our moral obligation. Jews are called upon to participate in social activism. We are obligated to make the world a better place. This is how we repair the world, with our direct actions. We have a system of what are called mitzvot you might have heard the word mitzvah. These are commandments or good deeds. They are laws, a series of 613 laws. And they refer specifically to our responsibility to repair or heal our mistakes. And we call this process of healing teshuvah. The Torah encourages us, saying, you can do it. You can accomplish major change. The work of altering societal perspectives, changing habits, and refashioning the structures that we relate to the natural world is something that is a great challenge, but we can meet this challenge. Through teshuvah, or changing our behavior, our lives, or even our society, we find paths to justice and sustainability. And we ask these questions of ourselves. 1, have we taken care of God's gifts to us? Have we paid attention to how our actions affect the world around us? 2, have we understood our responsibility to care for the earth? And how has that changed in light of scientific understanding of human-caused climate change? 3, what can we do as individuals, as communities of people and societies, to be more mindful of our impact on the earth? We say that we pursue justice. And in one of our books of ethics written 2,000 years ago, Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Tarfon commanded us by saying, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, love mercy now, walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. So all of us are called upon to be dedicated agents of justice and repair, even when the task seems enormous, especially so, perhaps, when the task is so difficult, when problems feel insurmountable or endless. So we approach this work step by step. We work for the future. We say, Lador Vador, from generation to generation. We seek to improve the earth. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Union of Reform Judaism. They have passed resolutions recognizing that climate change is such a severe problem. They first passed one in 2009, saying climate change is fundamentally a social justice issue that marries our mandate to be good stewards of the earth and to care for the least among us who are most impacted by climate change. In 2017, our union actually put out another statement recognizing that more urgent action was needed, and it became much more specific. And it called on congregations to do direct advocacy for policy change, from local to federal levels of government, to take steps to prepare and educate themselves and their neighbors for the impacts of extreme weather events, to work with local relief organizations, and to continue to advocate for legislative, regulatory, and judicial action to protect all communities from the damaging impacts of climate change. And we encourage congregations to work with interfaith and other partners to advocate for and to work to implement climate change solutions. So the Jewish Union of Reform Judaism, we have a branch that is very political called the Religious Action Network. We call that the RAC. And for instance, this year in California, they focused on climate change legislation, and they did many outreach and lobbying directly to all different levels of government to make some of the laws, which luckily many of these legislative policies were just passed in the last legislative session that just ended. There are other smaller Jewish organizations, such as Dayenu, that work on climate change. But I'm going to just mention that there are many, many secular organizations that work on climate change. I'm part of one called 350, and there's a 350 East Bay. I'm in 350 Contra Costa. There's 350 Bay Area. So we're lots of organizations that work at a very local level to do things in your own community to make the environment cleaner, because we believe that we should work at the highest level of policy. Like, we need speed. We don't have a lot of time. So it's very important, our own personal actions, but even more important is how we can bring things up to scale to wean ourselves off of fossil fuel and get to clean, renewable energy. And the reason to join some of these climate organizations, it doesn't matter which one you join, 350 or Sierra Club or National Resource Defense Council. All of those organizations, what they do is they are watchdogs. They will send you newsletters and tell you where they need action. And all these emails you get all the time saying, sign this petition or sign that petition. Okay, just ignore the pitch for money at the end, but do sign their petitions, because they have literally thousands of people that sign petitions, and it makes a difference to our elected officials. I gave an example earlier. We meet quite regularly to lobby our assembly person, our state senators, and our U.S. senators. And sometimes they'll get a letter with just maybe even 80 signatures from constituents. This happened to us recently. And they were really moved by this letter with 80, and our legislator changed her vote, right? Or she called us up to ask about who are the people signing this? What is your position on this? They need education also. They don't have a big staff. They have so many bills they're following and voting on. They don't always have the education they need or understand why we feel strongly about different bills. And any of you here can participate in a lobby session with your elected official. You can attend, you can learn how, you can join these groups and have a voice. So I like to say that belief in climate change is like thoughts and prayers. It will not bring change. And in a way, we say silence is assent. So the power to recognize, you need to have the power to recognize your actions and your voices and your deeds can create a sustainable and safe world. And we want you to manifest the concern that you feel in your heart, not just with prayers and concern, but with actual direct action. Again, we participate in many coalitions with people of many faiths, different backgrounds. There is a climate change group for literally every subgroup. There's ones for seniors, there's Third Act, there's ones for people who have specific interests in oceans, there's ones for teens, there's the Sunrise Organization for young people under 30. So there's lots of groups you can join, and they'll tell you what to do, because I know as an individual, it feels like, what should I do? And we have answers for that, and you could make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And now we'd like to have the second speaker, Manuel Falcon Padua. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone here, and also thank you, Jackie. It's really great to have someone that is more experienced. We were talking earlier, and she said she's been in this for 5 years. I'm relatively new to this concept of direct action. I'm a third semester MDiv student in Pacific School of Religion. I grew up Catholic. I am practicing some Buddhist precepts. Ahimsa and non-harm is very important to me. And also I am a Unitarian Universalist member. So with that said, I like to break down my share into 3 components: our ideals, our relationship to economy, and then politics. So thank you again for giving us examples for direct action. I want to bring us back to our role of our intrinsic motivation, and also a little bit of philosophy is what is the role of our ego. So by raise of hands or nodding our heads, who here has been affected by climate change? Okay, yeah. And again, no pressure to, I just want to walk us through in our self-efficacy, meaning what is our connection in the belief that we can do something, right? One of the tools that I like to use is a Likert scale. Part of my background is in mental health, technician in the Air Force, and we want things to be measurable in terms of behavior. So when I ask these self-reflective questions, try to measure where you are in terms of your self-efficacy. One being, I feel like I don't have what it takes to do something. And 5, I am fully capable and I believe that I can do something, right? So by the show of hands, it's really good to see that more than half here has been affected. It means that most of us here are intrinsically motivated to do something, right? The question now is, do we believe that we can do something? That's what Jackie's share was about. By show of hands, who here knows of someone that has been directly impacted by climate change? For example, some of my colleagues are from American Samoa. Their islands are sinking. So climate violence is directly affecting the American Samoas. So by raise of hands or nodding our heads, who here knows of someone that has been directly impacted by climate change? Okay. So now it's more tangible for us in terms of what is our level of care and connection to climate change and doing something about it, right? Which brings me to the first component, which is our ideals. And our interfaith practices bring at the forefront the conversations around our ideals and our self-efficacy. So by that, our conversations are extremely important from intergenerational level. So I love seeing the youth here. You are important. I'm seeing elders here. You are important, and everything in between. So the conversations that we are having intergenerationally, right? No matter the faith tradition, we are centering conversations. So I'm in a current project called Seeds of Dialogue, inspired by one of our seminarians that fell victim to gun violence here in Telegraph. He was supposed to have graduated last spring, but he fell victim to it on October 9th of last year. So the overlap in topic is sustainability, right? What are our ideals that are impacting the sorts of violence that we are all experiencing? Climate violence and other forms of violence. Right? So again, it goes back to seeds of dialogue. What are the conversations that we are having, right? And our intrinsic motivation to have them and fully believe that the conversations that we're having is important because it's affecting me, it's affecting my sister, it's affecting my mother, it's affecting my friends. And the other 2 components are on the economic level and the policy level, which Jackie had already spoke about. I found something interesting in my studies, how litigations are available, are existing for providing rights to Mother Earth having its own personhood. So that's a really exciting point of approach in climate change. So, because part of my roots as being Filipino American is our pre-colonial practice of animism. Everything has spirit, right? So the earth itself has spirit. as sentient as I am. And if that is the case, the earth also has rights. So now in the realms of economy and policy, the earth can sue back and saying, hey, I need time to recover. And that's what certain countries are doing and certain states are doing here in the US, is saying, they're filing cases so that corporations can take more responsibility and pause in the extraction economy, and so that our environment can recover. In terms of economy, I'm also really intrigued by collective economy. So a lot of us, part of the behaviors and ideals that's leading to climate change is our capital focused, right? So an alternative to that is collective economy, meaning that we as a group, as a collaborative community, can work together. And so one terminology is a business co-op. So who's been to REI? REI is a business co-op. There's a pizza place here. I forget the name, but Cheeseboard is a co-op. So for the young ones here, what that means is that everyone has one vote in terms of where the business goes. So everyone has an input in an equal investment in the prosperity of the business. So you take that concept and take it on a community level, right? We are beginning to practice indigenous ethics because we all have an equal investment to how the environment is nurtured and stewarded, right? So if you are all equal owners of Berkeley, for example, will you throw trash down the waterways? Will you pollute? Whatever. Like we're more mindful because we are thinking that although I am young and I have, this may not be in my purview right now, but someday I may want to have children. And my children will need to connect with this land and its resources, and there's a balance that we need to continue onward. With that, I want to leave you again with your own assessment and time to self-reflect your level of connection and empowerment to do something. So Jackie provided us wonderful resources. And in terms of connecting with me, we have a community garden on Pacific School of Religion that is dedicated to Isama Eli Mataafa. He is our fellow seminarian that was shot due to some commotion, a dispute, right? So again, it's our ideals that lead to this violence. This dispute, this person thought that the best way to solve this argument is to pick up a gun and shoot, right? So what ideals are we not exploring to say we need better conflict resolution, right? So you can meet me and interact with me every Tuesdays from 2 to 4. The Pacific School of Religion Quad, we have a community garden dedicated to Isama Eli Mataafa. You can Google it. It's called Eli's Community Peace Garden. And we have multiple medicinal herbs there, plants, and it's in a medicine wheel format, and it has a peace post in the middle of it in multiple languages. So we're setting that intention to have conversations around peace and transformation. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for your presentation. Now, we'd like to have third speaker, Amina Jandali. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be on all of you. Thanks for coming out. I think we all are impacted by climate change. We may not be aware of it, but I know this summer a lot of us kind of breathed a sigh of relief because we hadn't seen the smoke, at least not in the way we saw it in 2020 when the sky turned orange and we were like horrified and we couldn't go out for many days, and so we kind of forget. But certainly the news from around the world does not allow us to forget, because we've seen New York flooded many times, wildfires across Canada from, I think, April until, I don't know if they're out yet, but unprecedented. And every year they say this is the hottest summer on record, and then the next year they say the same thing. So unlike so many other issues in our life, I think climate change impacts every single one of us. And unfortunately, it does impact some in ways worse than others, and the rich and those with resources can escape to their second home, or they can, find air filters, things that people who maybe live next to Chevron in Richmond can't do. In fact, I live in the hills of El Cerrito. I can sit and watch, and that inequality feels really unsettling. But I would say more than any other issue, we are all impacted by climate change. One of the challenges in the Muslim community is that so many Muslims came here as students, my father, my husband, to learn science and engineering and technology from the best universities, and those are the universities which really promote a certain worldview that the earth is kind of ours to take advantage of and to use for whatever purpose we want. And that attitude has really spread across the world. We see this, vying for skyscrapers in the Gulf states while not worrying at all about the resources like water, and then the impact of building those kind of buildings, and of course oil is a whole nother topic. So it's often challenging to reverse that trend where in the mindset, progress means more cars, more televisions, bigger houses. That's what progress has looked like in third world countries for so long. And I guess the good news is they haven't achieved that. The United States still consumes, I think, around 40% of the world's resources. So if you're living in a small village in Africa, your footprint is so much smaller. And so people living in the United States just have to really take more responsibility. This is not an equal opportunity kind of competition. So one of the things as people of faith is to really center climate issues in our faith. And Jackie did a little bit of that. I'll mention a few things in the Quran, which is the Islamic holy book, that talks about the concept of stewardship, khilafa in Arabic. And there's a verse that says, "We offered the trust, the amana of the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they refused it. They were frightened by it, but humans bore it. Surely they were ignorant." And this shows that in humans' rush to, have control, everyone wants control, right? Yay, I'm in power. They prove themselves to be ignorant because it is actually a responsibility. It is not something to enjoy. And there's another prophetic saying that God has appointed you as stewards over the earth, and that the world is green and beautiful, and God has appointed you as stewards over it. So what does that mean to be a steward? Well, just like in our homes, when we leave, making sure that we turn off the lights and lock the door and that we keep it clean, can we say that we have done the same thing with this home that is our earth? Certainly, I would say it's the opposite. There are verses that talk about the honor that was shown on Adam and the children of Adam, that they were given all of these resources, but then they were given the responsibility for how to treat those resources. And there's a verse in the Quran, chapter 30, verse 41, that says, "Corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what humans' hands have wrought." So there's a direct correlation between the actions of humans and the degradation of our climate, whether it's the decimation of entire species, the toxicity now of our oceans, and of course the most dire threat to human existence in climate change. There's also a precept, don't harm or reciprocate harm, and a verse that says, "Walk lightly on earth," which can be interpreted to mean leave a light footprint. That when you die, if we think about the amount of garbage that we produce that goes to landfill and sits there and creates methane gas. I was recently in Phoenix where the temperatures have been unprecedented, and they don't even have a compost bin. That's not even a possibility across most of America. And the amount of garbage, their cans are huge. We're really blessed here, in at least in the East Bay, to have very small garbage cans and very large compost bins. So when you think about your footprint, my neighbor moved out recently, and she literally had like 5 trucks coming to her house getting rid of the junk. You know, it's so easy to shop, but when you move out, what is going to happen to all that? And here in Berkeley, my son is a student here. You can't even donate things. You have to leave them in the street and hope that someone picks them up, but they most likely will end up in a garbage bin. So waste is something also that is very much discouraged. There are many verses in the Quran that talk about not wasting, whether it's even there's a prophetic saying about if you are washing in a stream, Muslims are supposed to wash 5 times a day. Don't waste. How can you waste in a stream? You know, you're literally just having running water, and yet that points to a very important concept, which is avoiding any kind of waste. So if we think about just our daily footprint, whether it's driving, whether it's consuming, whether it's what we eat, we know that eating meat is a major problem, and in Muslim societies it's a huge problem because it has become more of a staple than a luxury. So what are some of the things that we can do in our houses of worship? I've tried a few myself. It is sometimes challenging. The first is really to educate and to really emphasize that these teachings are part of our faiths. If you can convince your house of worship to put solar panels, there's Interfaith Solar and Light that help with this. They can be costly, but it eventually pays off. I have them in my own house. Make sure that obviously lights are turned off, that energy's conserved. I mean, I'm always shocked to see at night the number of buildings that are just lit up for no good reason. Encourage members to walk instead of driving to service. This is really a wonderful example where I think people do that. Conserve, recycle, compost at your mosque. In Ramadan, I've tried to do that at the Berkeley Mosque, sometimes with success. Sometimes I have to literally stand by the garbage can because for some reason people who are, PhDs cannot figure out which bin to put it on. And so the best way to do it is to have everything be compostable and have, one bin for the plates, the spoons, the cups. Just do not buy anything that is not compostable, let alone, unrecyclable. Organize politically, as Jackie talked about. Bring in people maybe to talk about some of these issues. Host climate-friendly politicians when voting comes around. Work with other faith communities on topics of common interest in your locality. And prayer. I think we're at a point where only prayer will save us. I literally think we should have a day of global prayer for this earth, because even if we all stopped driving today, if we all did everything possible, I think the damage has really been done. So working what we can, but also turning to God for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandali. So now we would like to have the last speaker, Sean Lee. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My talk today is not directly on the topic of how faith communities might skillfully respond to the global anthropogenic climate crises, as I am still only meditating on my connection with Buddhism and what it means to me. However, my Buddhist upbringing, listening to the stories about karma, reincarnation, and loving kindness, or metta, definitely informed my perspectives on conservation and the climate crisis. I approach this work just like how I approach diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, or DEIJ, issues by centering my lived experiences, my conversations with friends and colleagues, and the stories and information I consume. Part of this work includes questioning my own privilege and biases, acknowledging the limitations of my perspective, and from there, welcoming every opportunity to expand my perception by listening and learning from others. I mentioned DEIJ because environmental justice must be included in all conversations about environmental issues. Talking about climate change, how do you feel? Overwhelmed, burned out, hopeless, maybe even helpless? My work is centered on environmental narratives, and these are the most common responses I see from folks, and obstacles I also continue to struggle with. Some questions you might ask is like, what can I do? Should I recycle? Should I not buy this shirt? Should I use product A or B? There are so many decisions, but do any of them really matter? What can one person actually do when corporations contribute so much more to pollution and climate crisis? These questions are good places to start, but the focus is still at the individual level in terms of what one individual can independently achieve by themselves in the face of global anthropogenic climate change. It's microscopic. If you only measure success with individual responsibility, when corporations have contributed to 90% of plastic pollution and 70% of greenhouse gas emissions, you will feel defeated. But caring about small actions still matter if you build on them by learning about the systems and entities that continue to generate pollution and work with communities to dismantle them. First, here's the hard truth. There is no preventing climate change, and by that I mean because of climate feedback loops set in motion with our current greenhouse levels, we will never go back to a perfect planet with CO2 levels below 350 parts per million within our generation. Our best case scenario is staying below the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, but even the most recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report stated that it's more likely than not we will exceed that threshold before the end of the century with our current policies. But that doesn't mean to give up. We can still mitigate the effects, adapt, and address the solutions that could lessen the worst of anthropogenic climate consequences. When we start thinking in systems, we consider both causes and effects, the karma of our thoughts, words, and actions. Here's an example. We are constantly told to switch to an energy-efficient light bulb, recycle plastic, and take a shorter shower. Just doing these small behaviors and stopping there is not enough, but they can be starting points for you to attend to the systems that got us here and lead you to focus on creating a better, more sustainable system. Light bulbs lead me to think of our unsustainable energy grid and how we must pursue sustainable sources and capture existing carbon in the atmosphere. Recycling reminds me of how human-created materials can last for thousands of years and to consume less. Taking a shorter shower makes me think of the water cycle in the watershed and how all life is connected through water, so we must also take care of the environment as it has taken care of us. Questions from a place of self can lead to questions of interconnectedness, making us aware of how we actively and inactively contribute to these unsustainable systems. We begin to attend to the cycles of life, natural and human-created. By starting with ourselves and sharing with our communities, we can disrupt systems that keep causing further suffering through community-based actions such as pressuring corporations and changing policies. Has anyone heard of the Star Thrower story by Dr. Lauren Isley? Okay, it goes something like this. One day, a naturalist came across a young boy standing on the shoreline. Thousands of starfish have washed up on the shore, and that boy was throwing them back, one by one. The naturalist asked the boy, "Why are you wasting your time? Look at all these starfish on the beach. You can't save all of them. There's no way you could possibly make a difference." The little boy pointed to the starfish he had just thrown into the sea. "I made a difference for that one." There's been various versions of the same story. The lesson is the same. Each person has the potential to make a positive impact on the world. Some of these starfish may wash back up, some may be eaten or dry out before he can save them, but the boy continues to search the shore, seeking another opportunity for kindness. Yes, the anthropogenic climate crisis is pretty bleak. I won't sugarcoat it. It will take monumental efforts from all communities working in solidarity to avert the worst of the effects and make sure the burdens are distributed equitably. It's a lot. It gets overwhelming. I get overwhelmed. It hurts to care about the world when there's so much suffering. When I start feeling burned out or nihilistic, I will reframe compassion as an obligation to compassion as a choice. It goes from, I should be doing this, to I want to be doing this. That way, I regain the agency of my own choices. Rather than thinking of it as a burden, I shift my thinking to, it is a privilege to have the power to choose to be a more compassionate, empathetic human being. While my individual choices may not have a noticeable impact on global systems, I possess the power and agency to affect change with my friends, and with my family, and with my local community. We have the power and the agency to choose compassion, to reduce suffering, and to enhance our environment. If enough of us join forces to do this, our raindrops of impact can create waves. Originally, that was the end of my speech. But I cannot talk about community action, choosing compassion, and reducing suffering without acknowledging atrocities that happened and are happening in Gaza and Israel. While I am not an expert of this geopolitical area, I can definitively say I am opposed to the bloodshed conducted by a government with weapons they received from our government, manufactured from billions of our taxpayer dollars. My oldest friend still has family in that region, and I was asked to pass on this message. Call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and promote all efforts to de-escalate. One way to do this is reaching out to representatives and demand them to stop the US from sending weapons to the Israeli government, which are used to kill Palestinian civilians. I empathize with the collective rage and grief that is felt after the death of so many, but they cannot be the justification for the genocide of 1 million more innocent people. As a country that promotes freedom, equal rights, and diversity, we must condemn the US's participation in the crime against humanity committed in Gaza. Stop the death on both sides. A path towards peace cannot be filled with the false dichotomy of us versus them rhetoric. I grieve for the thousands of beautiful souls already lost in this war, and strive to promote and create a future where every person can live in freedom and safety. 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。
Thank you, Sean. And for speakers, I appreciate your wonderful and informative, insightful, inspiring presentations. So maybe we would like to have a couple, maybe questions or comments from the floor to the speakers. Yes, Antoine, yeah.
I'm curious to know, how the interfaith community can collaborate with each other in order to prevent demographics of people that don't think that climate change is something that is dangerous.
Thank you. Any response? Yes. Please grab a microphone. Thank you.
So there's a local organization called the Interfaith Power and Light, and they work politically on climate change. I think that we don't really try and convince people who don't believe in climate change anymore. I think the science, it's kind of felt like it's a waste of effort. It's really the politicians and the scientists, it's so definitive that climate change is happening. It's obvious to most people that we don't worry about changing people who don't believe. They can do what they like, but what we work on is changing policy for people who do have the power to create policies. Anybody else?
It can be very frustrating. It just goes nowhere because they don't believe in the science. I think COVID has opened the door for people just reject science outright, and so they put it in the same category as COVID. Oh, COVID is a lie. Climate change is a lie. So it does feel frustrating to say there's nothing you can do. I think, give it your best shot with the realization that you're probably not going to be able to change their mind. Unfortunately, it does impact policies because there's an entire cadre. I mean, I have people in my own family who live in certain states that buy into this. And so it's not just personal opinion. But I think the most important thing is to just present your facts, stay calm, don't get emotional about it, and you just leave it up to them, and maybe at some point they'll see it. You know, maybe it'll impact a family member, and then they'll be convinced.
Yeah, I agree with both panelists. I think you have to recognize where your energy levels are at. Sometimes you want to use that effort, but sometimes you have to recognize that they're not on that journey yet. They're not open enough to listen at that point. But I think in the States specifically, there are many reports that says most people do believe in climate change. It's more about taking climate actions, or maybe they see climate change maybe happening in for the Pacific Islands or melting like glaciers. They don't know how it affects them. It affects all of us, either through wildfires, or some people could really care about farming, so you can relate to that. I think a lot of people might not understand the greenhouse gas effect, but they know that when carbon dioxide combines, when it's absorbed by the ocean, it becomes carbonic acid. That's kind of basic chemistry. That's ocean acidification. So there are ways to relate environmental issues to people once you first listen to them and what they care about, and you can craft a narrative for them to also care about the environment in their own way. Regarding kind of interfaith collaboration, I think there's always ways to find common ground and collaborate, and I think it's also very important to also celebrate the differences.
So one of my courses in my 3 semesters is design thinking. And one of the more powerful quotes that I received from my professor is that where design matters most is in theology. And coming from someone that's standpoint of mental health and behavior, everything is a design. There is a certain intentionality. We just have to realize that they are, right? Like we are behaving in a very particular way because it's been designed that way. And so part of what design thinking is focusing on our conversations, like the feedback loop that we're having. How do we open that up and really ask how someone is affected by climate change? Now, I mentioned ideals as one of those components, and under ideals is our level of imagination, right? And we are a social learning communities. We learn from each other. You know, we have mirror neurons that are telling us that if I see someone is showing me that I can do that, then I can believe that I can do the same. Or the reverse is true. Right? So the loudest rhetoric has power and repetition. So again, in behavioral health, the way it's measured is frequency, duration, and intensity. So the way we believe in terms of self-efficacy and that we can do something or that behavior change is possible is by observing the frequency. How often do we tell ourselves that we can or we can't do something? The duration, how long do we say it, right? And then the intensity, the power behind it. In terms of theology, is our divine connection, our interconnectedness, not just with ourselves, but with the non-humans, right? Animals and the earth. So thinking of those 3 things and how do we engage conversations around those things to increase self-efficacy in our interconnectedness, and then so design thinking, it empowers us. It asks the question, like, how can we creatively increase the imagination to problem solve? And just as a self-reflection exercise, how often have we had conversations around climate change? Just right now, think about in 2023, how many of us here centered climate change among our conversations? Just as a self-reflection, right? And then if you have had a conversation or a couple of conversations, what was that like? Was the other person empowered, or did it end up in a stalemate, or how did it feel? Was a connection made? Right? So connection is important. I think that's the power of theology, is in our different faith traditions, is that we are coming to a specific faith practice to feel some sort of liberation, transcendence. And that happens through connection, through community. Right? It does not happen in isolation. It does not happen as an individual. It happens as a community. Right? We feel the pain of other people. That's coming from our mirror neurons. Right? So thank you. Thank you, Sean, for lifting Gaza and Palestine and Israel. Because that's us. We're feeling it. Right? Thank you.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。So, okay, so now I think I'd like to conclude today's panel discussion anyway. But we have refreshments, coffee at the social hall, and then some of the speakers will stay for us. So maybe you could individually talk to them. And then because after the service, today the Berkeley Buddhist Temple will host Bay District Junior YBA monthly meeting, and thank you Madison and Bell for helping us. And then since we have a in-person meeting at this temple, I know people want to stay and then enjoy the conversation, refreshment, but I would appreciate if you kind of start wrapping up the refreshment time 11:30ish. Is that okay? Yeah. Hi. Okay, so, and then before I conclude, I'd like to say thank you for Tony for being a chairperson today's service. ありがとうございました. Thank you, Tony. Then thank you, the live streaming team, for your help during today's live streaming service. ありがとうございます. Thank you. And then thank you, DI, and then Tony, and then Roland for sharing the wonderful music. ありがとうございました. Thank you. Then last, thank you, October monthly group, for preparing the refreshments for our coffee social time. ありがとうございます. Thank you. Then, of course, the four wonderful speakers for today's interfaith panel session. ありがとうございました. So I hope their words of wisdom will affect or give an influence on your way of thinking or your behavior from tomorrow for the betterment or change to this world. ありがとうございました. Thank you very much. So today, so this concludes the service. So thank you everyone for joining the service today in person and then virtually. So see you next week.